us now. Only love.
Good evening and welcome to Moving Forward, a production of the Bay and Grantstown Advancement Association. On this program, we seek to identify obstacles in the forward movement of our nation, and with the help of all of you out there and special guests in studio, we seek to either remove these obstacles or at least reduce them so that we can move forward. We've got a beautiful country and we just need to keep it moving in a positive fashion. Everyone would perhaps agree that we've got a tremendous number of obstacles currently in the way of our progress, and so we are redoubling our effort to ameliorate some of these, and we try to bring into studio persons who can assist us. And we're delighted this evening to have someone who is functioning on many fronts. As a matter of fact, he's almost a one-man wrecking crew in terms of trying to dismantle some of these obstacles. And I think you will agree with me once I introduce him. Though he needs little introduction, everybody knows Fred Smith. Everybody in the nation knows Fred Smith. Some, when they hear the name Fred Smith, they scowl and say, that fella. Others just break out in a smile of appreciation and gratitude. And I dare say that there are far more in the latter category than in the former. Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest this evening on Moving Forward is Mr. Fred Smith, QC, perhaps one of the most prominent Bahamians at this time, going by media accounts. Fred is an attorney with Calendars & Co. He is the managing director of the Freeport.
The senior partner
of
the firm.
Of the firm, and managing director of Freeport office, I think. But it doesn't really matter. Fred is not stuck on labels. Fred is Fred, and everybody knows.
Simply Fred.
Yes, simply Fred. And so we are this evening going to look at a number of very important issues. Each one, in fact, is a show in and of itself. But we're going to try to pack into this 60-minute program as many of these issues and allow Fred to address them in his inimitable way. Nobody can do it like Fred. But we hope that at the end of the program, there will have been some enlightenment on many of these issues, and also more education, because that is what we need to address some of our problems. Fred has been very active in the environment. Fred has been active in the human rights arena, in Freeport, because he is one of the perhaps foremost experts on what's happening in Freeport, the relationship between the government, the Port Authority, the merchants, the residents, as it should be. Fred also has been pushing for years for more transparency in governance and more information being made available to people. As a matter of fact, Fred was a presenter at a Freedom of Information town meeting that was held recently. As a matter of fact, if you were watching this particular station a few nights ago, you saw it again. So Fred has been very active, and as smart people, and I consider myself associated with smart people, we grab the iron while it's hot. We grab the people who can help move us forward and put them to use, and that's what we're doing with Fred this evening. Fred, you are a renowned environmentalist. You fight for environmental issues. But right off the top, we should like to thank you and your organization, Save the Bays, for your work as it relates to Clifton and the threat that was experienced at Clifton over the last several years. Now, as the nation is aware, we also chair the Coalition to Save Clifton. And from 1999, we were fighting for the establishment of a land and sea park at Clifton Point for the benefit of all of our people and even visitors to our country. In 2004, the government established the land park with a promise to extend it to the marine area, which has not yet been done. But around 2012-13, the Coalition to Save Clifton became aware of a very, very serious threat to the idea of a sustainable sea park in that area due to unregulated development on the coast and a number of other factors. And we were made aware of that by an organization called Save the Bays, which, because of their capacity to do these things, their technical, financial, human capacity, they accumulated convincing evidence that the coalition could not have done, nor any other, ordinary organization. But the information that they produced to the public convinced the coalition, and indeed all right-thinking Bahamians, that something drastically wrong was occurring at Clifton. Just to recap briefly, tell us about Save the Bays, what you uncovered, and where the situation is now.
Thank you very much, Reverend Moss. It's always a pleasure appearing with you and in Mr. Wendell Jones's studio.
Yes.
I appreciate this opportunity to share with the public some of our experiences and knowledge on the issues that you've outlined. And I'd certainly like to take this opportunity to commend you and the coalition to Save Clifton, that has been working, I think, decades now,
Yes.
Almost alone for many years.
Yes.
And you've kept the embers of that fire alive, and I'd like to congratulate you for that. And I know that you've mentioned that the Bahamas is facing many obstacles, and some of the areas in local government, in freedom of information, in the environment, in human rights, in Freeport.
Oh, yes.
I like to regard those as opportunities.
That's right.
Because when the nation is periodically confronted with a challenge, it really is an opportunity for the nation.
That's right.
And the thinkers in the nation, and the young people, and the students, and the civil society, and members of the government. And, we have, the Bahamas is blessed with wonderful human resources.
Yes.
The greatest challenge I think we've experienced is the regrettable prevention by the tribal politics that have bedeviled the Bahamas for so long. The prevention of allowing all of those who mean so well and who are very knowledgeable and who have sometimes worldly experience, who have networks of connection internationally, who have the financial resources, who may see things in a different way, from participating and contributing and taking advantage of the opportunities that we're faced with.
So we want to make that point very, very sharp. What I hear you saying is that under any of the administrations that govern us over the years, they are in fact drawing upon roughly just 50% of the capacity that we have.
I would say they draw on 5% of the
Yes.
capacity. I mean, that's a dramatic difference between 50 and 5.
But I'm talking about from a tribal perspective.
Yes.
The pool
First
they
of
draw
all, the
from.
pool of each political party, the FNM and the PLP, are generally 50% of
Yes.
the voting population.
Fully voted. And if you're not with them, then
Well,
you don't have
it's
much
even
chance.
further than that. Once even either party becomes the administration, they tend to close ranks dramatically at the top. There is an abject failure. I think if we don't deal with freedom of information for a second,
Yes.
there's an abject failure on the part of both political parties to embrace by consultation, by sharing of information, by freedom of information, by informing the public of the real facts regarding any particular issue, which deprives even such administration from the capacity, the experience, the knowledge, the ideas to effectively embrace the opportunity for change.
Yes.
And that is a condemnation that I must regrettably make against both political parties. And politicians are often criticized, well, always criticized, and often deservedly so. But many of them, many of the people who are involved in politics and frontline politics are well-meaning,
Yes.
well-intentioned,
Oh, yes.
and have a lot of ideas. But it seems that once they become cabinet ministers, or once they're in charge of government corporations, etc., they are deprived because of the system.
That's it.
From involving so many who can help to effect change. And so they close ranks. They adopt a fortress mentality of keeping everybody out instead of bringing everybody in. They're afraid to share information. And so we have, unfortunately, since the well, even before, but no government in the Bahamas, despite Hubert Ingram, the Prime Minister in 1992, opening Parliament in the sunshine. All the ladies came out with their beautiful hats and beautiful dresses. Poor things were sweating and terribly in the sun. But, you know, despite the promise of government in the sunshine, and promises of a Freedom of Information Act, promises of transparency in government, promises of accountability in government, no government, FNM or PLP, has ever delivered on that promise, which in many of the election cycles has played a very prominent role in seducing voters to support one party or the other. And so I beg the Free National Movement not to continue, as they have done, to govern in secret as they did in the past. You know, Dr. Hubert Minnis, our current Prime Minister, he, you know, supported the Save the Bays and many other civic organizations in having a Freedom of Information initiative back from 2015, 2016, 2017. And many of his cabinet ministers have openly, before the election and since, everybody talks about freedom of information, but nobody delivers. And so there isn't much to say about freedom of information, except do it.
Do it. That's right.
Do it now.
That's right.
And stop promising, stop talking about it, stop pretending as if there's any reason you shouldn't give it.
Yes.
I know that there are administrative processes that need set up, but if the political mindset adopts an ethos or a psyche or an attitude of share, then it will come out. You set up your organizations, you set up your processes, but imbue the public, imbue the civil service with a fundamental objective of we are going to share.
Yes.
And so if we were able to do that, we could have sensible discussions about what our immigration challenges are, based on statistics, based on research. We could have discussions about the healthcare system, rational discussions about the challenges to education, rational discussions about our tax issues, instead of having VAT shoved down our throat.
That's right.
Without any consultation. You know, nearly a 60% increase,
yes,
without so much as they were even going to consider it, and now trying to persuade us after the fact. You see, consultation after the fact, after the horse is bolted from the stable, is not consultation.
No.
And those who you are hoping or attempting to engage in any meaningful dialogue, they close their minds to you. Nobody's going to talk to you about it anymore.
That's not consultation, that's justification. You're trying to justify it. But let me get your opinion on this, which is very important. In your opinion, you talk about a transformation that occurs once these wonderful individuals enter frontline politics, particularly at the cabinet level. Is it because of arrogance on their part, which could develop if you're not careful? Or is it because of insecurity that they want to keep everybody else out because they want to perpetuate themselves?
Well,
or what is it?
in my opinion, governance in the Bahamas has become so centralized
Yes.
in the office of the Prime Minister and in the different cabinet ministerial posts that once they are elected, once they are put in a position of responsibility, in a cabinet post in particular, the opportunity for any well-intentioned politician or cabinet minister to actually think and to participate or plan strategically or to implement, to think strategically is taken away from them because they are now mired in the minutiae.
Yes.
And they're just on a bicycle and they're with no gears and they're going down the hill and just pedaling as fast as they can not to fall off.
And when you add to that, Fred, the fact that they cannot appear to be associating in any meaningful way with someone from the other side.
Yes.
That is an
Yes,
additional problem.
Yes. And so they don't have time to think.
Yes.
The civil service is very secretive.
Yes.
You have the general orders, you have the cabinet protocols, you have the Official Secrets Act. Everything, the colonial system of governance that the Bahamas simply took over has not yet changed.
No.
And so we remain boxed in by old governance constructs. Let's turn to local government,
Yes.
if we may, for a minute. I mean, there's a lot of talk about local government now, and local government coming to New Providence, etc. Well, local government, let's face it, in the
Yes.
Bahamas is a farce.
Yes.
There was more local government before
For
the
the local
1996
government, that's right.
Act came into effect.
That's right.
Because all the Local Government Act did was to create district councils and have local elections and to simply perpetuate the tribal national politics that existed on the national scale. Because no district council through the Local Government Act was provided with the tools with which to govern.
We're going to talk about local government when we return because it is very important, and I would like to have your view on this, and we'll explain that on the other side of this break. So folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Only love can save us now. Only love